Hi everyone, so today we'll talk about other algorithms, especially those sorting algorithms that are also very basic ones. So the first one will be selection sort. So selection sort is a simple and efficient sorting algorithm that works by repeatedly selecting the smallest or largest element from the unsorted portion of the list and moving it to the sorted portion of the list. So we will use an example to help you understand the process of selection sort. So first, you can see that we have a unsorted list here that is 64, 25, 12, 22, and 11. So first, we'll find the smallest element in the list, which is 11. And then we'll find the position to hold the smallest element. So in this case, it will be the first place, because 11 is the smallest element of the list, so it should be put at the first place. So it will just be swapped, that is exchanging the position with each other with the element on the first place currently. Then you will get this sequence. So from now on, this sequence has two parts. So the first part of the sequence contains those are already sorted. So currently it only has one element at 11. And the rest of the list, it contains elements that are still unsorted. So then in the rest of the sequence, we'll again find the smallest element and swap it with the first place of this unsorted sequence. So in this case, it will be 12, which is and it will be swapped with 25. Then we'll keep continuing this process. So in the third pass, 22 will be swapped with 25, and then in the fourth pass, we will find that 25 is already the smallest element of the remaining sequence, and it is also at the first place, so we don't need to do anything. And last, at the fifth pass, we'll find that 64 is the smallest, and it is also at the first place of this unsorted sequence, and then we'll know that the whole array is sorted. Now we'll talk about the time complexity of this sorting algorithm. So in best case, the array is already sorted. However, it is still O(n) squared, which is very low efficiency. So because in the best case, although it is sorted, we still, in each pass, we need to find the smallest element, and this requires O(n) efficiency, and then we need also to swap it with the place where it has to be put, which is also O(n), so it will be O(n) squared. And in worst case, the whole array is in ascending order while we need descending order. So we need to swap every element with its correct place, and in each pass we also need to traverse the whole sequence to get the smallest element. And so in every case, actually, this is also a O(n) squared time complexity algorithm. So the time complexity of the selection sort remains constant regardless of the input array's initial order. At each step, the algorithm identifies the minimum element and places it in its correct position. However, the minimum element cannot be determined until the entire array is traversed. Okay. And now we'll compare the bubble sort that we talked about last time with the selection sort. So bubble sort involves comparing and potentially swapping two adjacent elements. So if the elements are in the correct order, we move to the next pair. And in selection sort, it involves finding the smallest element in the list and swapping it with the first element in the unsorted portion of the list. So basically, they all involve a swapping process. However, bubble sort, it is swapping every element, the highest, the greatest element, until it reaches its right position, while in the selection sort, we will find each of the minimum and swap it with the first element in the unsorted array. So for bubble sort, it is generally less efficient compared to selection sorts. However, in best case, the bubble sort is O(n), which is constant complexity, while in selection sort, the best case is still O(n squared, and therefore we can know that unless the sequence is pre-sorted, otherwise in average case when the sequence is disordered or random, it is better to use selection sort. Okay. And after talking about selection sort, we will talk about another type of sorting algorithm, that is insertion sort. Okay. Insertion sort is a simple sorting algorithm that works similarly to the way you sort playing cards in your hand. The array is virtually split into a sorted and unsorted part. Values from the unsorted part are picked and placed in a correct position in the sorted part. So actually, we will use a sequence similarly to help you understand the process. Okay, first we have a disordered sequence that is 4, 3, 2, 10, 12, 1, 5, and 6. And now we will first start from the second element of the sequence, that is 3. And then we will keep comparing it to the elements that are in front of this element, that is, so in this case we only have 4. So after comparing them, we find that 3 is smaller than 4, so we will insert 3 in front of 4, and we will put this in this position. And then so now in the third pass, we'll have a look at the third element, that is 2, and then we'll keep comparing 2 with the elements in front of it, that is 3 and 4, and we can know that all of these elements are bigger than 2, and so we'll insert 2 in front of all these elements, and then we'll get 2, 3, 4, and we'll look at 10. So 10 is greater than all these elements, so it will just stay here, and that is the same for 12. And then we'll come up to 1. So this element is smaller than all these elements after comparing them each to 1. So we'll just insert 1 in front of all these elements, and it will come to the first place. And then it's 5. So 5 is greater than 10 and 12, is smaller than 10 and 12, but it is greater than 4 and other elements in front of it. So it will be inserted in this position, and then that is the same for 6. 6 will be inserted after 5, and then we'll know that we already have a sorted sequence. So to make sure that you already understand the insertion sort, we'll use another example. We use another example to help you understand it. So let me think. So take the example from that we used in the selection sort part. So it will be 64, 95, 12, 22, and 11. So the sequence, unsorted sequence looks like this at first. So we don't need to deal with 64 because it has no elements in front of it. So we'll start from the second element, and it is 25. And we know that 25 is smaller than 64. So we'll be putting this place. And then we have 25, 64, 12, 22, 11. And then it will be the third element, and it is 12. So we know that 12 is smaller than 64, and so we are keep comparing to the left elements, and then we find that 12 is also smaller than 25, and 25 is the first element, so we are just inserted in front of 25. So we will get 12, 25, 64, 22, and 11. Okay, then we'll come up to the fourth element, and 22 is smaller than 64, and 22 is also smaller than 25. And we'll keep going leftward, and we'll find that 22 is greater than 12, and then we'll insert it here after 12 and before 25. We'll get 12, 22, 25, 64, and 11. And last, it is 11. It's the last element in the sequence, and we will also do the same, keep comparing. So it is smaller than this, and going leftwards it's also smaller than this, and then smaller than this, and smaller than this. And then last, we will insert it here. So it will be 11, 12, 22, 25, and 64. And now the sequence is already sorted. So at last, we also do a time complexity analysis of the insertion sort. So in the worst case, complexity of the insertion sort algorithm is O(n) squared, because we're going to look at here. So for each of the elements, we need to compare it to all the elements in front of it. So it is O(n) squared times complexity, and for each of the elements, for example, we can take the 12 as an example. So you need to compare with 64 and 25. So this is a O(n) squared process. And then we also need to insert it to the right place, in this case, the first place. And then it is also a O(n) squared process. Excuse me, it is also an O(n) process. And then when we do it to the whole sequence, it will be a O(n) squared times complexity. So insertion sort, it is frequently used to arrange small lists. On the other hand, insertion sort isn't the most efficient method for handling large lists with numerous elements, because in average case it is O(n) squared, but it is only in O(n) constant in its best case, so it is like bubble sort. But probably is it's faster than bubble sort, but it is still a O(n) squared algorithm on average case. So actually, when we deal with a lot of data amounts, we will not consider this kind of sorting algorithm. So next time we will probably talk about other sorting algorithms that are faster, they have greater efficiency when dealing with the sequences. And that's all for today's activity. Thank you.